The scandalous royal plot against Princess Diana, inside the meeting she was never meant to know about. When Princess Diana Spencer first became part of the royal family in the early 1980s, she was loved by the public. Her beauty, kindness, and natural charm made her one of the most famous women in the world. But that adoration didn't sit well with everyone in the royal family. While Princess Diana was winning hearts across the globe, she was also inadvertently becoming a threat to the monarchy's carefully curated image. The monarchy had always relied on maintaining a perfect, dignified image, but Princess Diana's genuine connection with the people began to overshadow the stiffer, more formal members of the family. Her ability to connect with ordinary citizens, her charity work, and her media savvy made her an international icon. But it also made the royals uneasy. They began to fear that Princess Diana might upstage them, threaten their status, and, most concerning, siphon away public support that had traditionally been theirs. And so, a plan was set into motion to handle what they saw as a growing threat. Here's a list of scandalous royal plots against Princess Diana, inside the meetings she was never meant to know about. Number 1. The plan to isolate Princess Diana within the family. As Princess Diana's fame grew, so did efforts to isolate her within the royal family. Invitations to key events became less frequent, and her interactions with senior members of the family were reportedly limited. These actions made it increasingly difficult for her to feel like a valued part of the institution. Princess Diana had once enjoyed a closer bond with certain family members, but this began to change as international distance was created. This isolation wasn't only social, but also emotional. By restricting her connections and access to support, the palace made it harder for her to feel grounded or secure. The goal seemed to be to diminish her influence by making her feel like an outsider. Princess Diana's sense of loneliness during this period was profound, and it added to the strain she was already experiencing in her personal life. This systematic isolation left her feeling betrayed by the very people she'd once trusted to stand by her. Number 2. Using the media to undermine Princess Diana. One of the most noticeable ways the campaign against Princess Diana unfolded was through the media. Stories began appearing in the tabloids that painted her in a negative light. These articles focused on her personal life, often exaggerating or misrepresenting her actions. The media's portrayal of Princess Diana began to shift, and it wasn't always in her favor. Some reports suggest that these stories weren't entirely organic. Information about Princess Diana was allegedly leaked from within the palace, feeding the press narratives that suited the royal family's agenda. Whether these leaks were intentional or not, the result was the same: a tarnished public image. Princess Diana found herself constantly under scrutiny, with every move analyzed and critiqued. For someone who'd once been adored by the press, this shift was both painful and damaging. It seemed that the media had become another tool in the effort to control Princess Diana's influence. Number 3. Her marriage was a pawn in the plot. Princess Diana's marriage to King Charles started as a storybook romance, but it quickly became one of the most challenging aspects of her life. Their relationship faced struggles early on, and these difficulties were compounded by the pressures of royal life. Over time, it seemed that the marriage itself became a way to keep Princess Diana in a vulnerable position. By staying in a strained relationship, Princess Diana was left without the emotional support she needed. The challenges in her marriage made it harder for her to assert herself within the family and in the public. This vulnerability may have been seen as a way to control her, ensuring that she didn't overshadow the institution. For Princess Diana, the realization that her personal life was being used in this way added to the emotional toll she was already experiencing. The marriage, which had once been her connection to the royal family, became another source of pain and difficulty. Number 4. The campaign to paint Princess Diana as unstable. One of the most damaging strategies used against Princess Diana was the effort to portray her as emotionally unstable. This narrative, which was spread through both internal discussions and media stories, served to discredit her. It created the impression that any struggles she faced were solely her own fault, rather than the result of the challenges she was navigating. Meetings within the palace reportedly discussed how to emphasize Princess Diana's vulnerabilities. Stories about her emotional reactions and personal challenges were framed in ways that suggested instability, rather than strength or resilience. This portrayal wasn't just unfair, it overshadowed her genuine contributions and the important work she was doing. For Princess Diana, the perception of instability added another layer of difficulty to an already complicated situation. It was a narrative she had to fight against constantly, even as she continued to carry out her duties. Number 5. Keeping her away from key royal decisions. Princess Diana's exclusion from key decision-making meetings within the royal family was one of the more strategic moves aimed at curbing her influence. As a senior royal, one might expect her to have a voice in important matters, but this was rarely the case. Over time, it became apparent that Princess Diana was being systematically sidelined. Meetings involving important royal protocols, public engagements, and even family matters were held without her input. This exclusion wasn't just about logistics. It was a clear message that her opinions and influence were not welcomed. Princess Diana's exclusion made her feel powerless in a system where decisions were made on her behalf, but without her involvement. The impact on this tactic went beyond professional frustration. It affected her personal confidence and her ability to navigate life within the royal structure. By keeping her out of critical discussions, the royal family ensured that Princess Diana's presence was minimized, not just publicly, but within the palace itself. This systematic exclusion served to reinforce her feelings of isolation and contributed to the widening gap between her and the royal institution. Number 6. The attempt to control her public appearances. Princess Diana's public appearances were some of the most memorable aspects of her time as a royal. Whether visiting hospitals, engaging with children, or attending high-profile events, she had a way of connecting with people that felt genuine and unfiltered. However, this natural charisma made her public role harder to control. The royal family attempted to limit Princess Diana's public engagements, particularly those where her popularity could overshadow other members of the family. There were instances where events were reassigned, postponed, or restructured to ensure her spotlight was dimmed. Princess Diana, however, had a strong sense of responsibility toward the public. Her visits were never just about maintaining appearances. They were deeply personal and driven by a desire to make a difference. Limiting her public engagements not only frustrated her but also disappointed those who eagerly awaited her presence. The royal family's attempts to manage her public image backfired in many ways, as Princess Diana's authenticity and compassion shone through, regardless of the constraints placed on her. Number 7. Blocking Princess Diana's humanitarian efforts. Princess Diana's humanitarian work became one of the defining features of her legacy. From her groundbreaking efforts to raise awareness about the AIDS epidemic to her iconic visit to landmine-affected regions, Princess Diana used her platform to shine a light on causes that others avoided. However, this work was not without resistance. Within the royal family, there were concerns that Princess Diana's focus on controversial topics could reflect poorly on the monarchy. Her hands-on approach and emotional involvement were seen as too informal for a royal. As a result, there were attempts to discourage or limit her involvement in certain campaigns. For instance, Princess Diana's work on the landmine crisis, which earned her international acclaim, was reportedly met with skepticism and resistance within the palace. Despite these challenges, Princess Diana's commitment to her causes remained steadfast. She believed in using her influence to bring attention to issues that truly mattered, even if it meant defying royal expectations. Her persistence not only earned her the admiration of millions, but also highlighted the limitations of the traditional royal approach to philanthropy. Number 8. Twisting Princess Diana's words. Princess Diana was a deeply emotional person, and she put her heart into everything, including her letters. She would write openly to friends, expressing her thoughts and feelings. But some of these private letters didn't stay private. They were leaked, and worse, they were twisted to paint Princess Diana in a bad light. Imagine pouring your heart out only to see your words splashed across tabloids, making you look unstable or overly dramatic. That's what Princess Diana faced. These leaks didn't just hurt her reputation. They also made her feel betrayed. Instead of protecting her, the palace stayed silent, letting the rumors grow. For Princess Diana, it was another way the institution tried to control her narrative, making her feel like she couldn't trust anyone. Number 9. Keeping her away from friends. Princess Diana loved building real, meaningful relationships. Her friends gave her the emotional support she desperately needed, especially as life in the royal family grew harder. However, the royal family didn't like how close she became to people outside their circle. They made it difficult for Princess Diana to maintain those friendships. Invitations to meet her were sometimes blocked, and people who became close to her found themselves excluded from royal events or were quietly discouraged from visiting her. The goal was clear: to isolate Princess Diana and keep her from having a strong support system. The palace knew that if Princess Diana had trusted friends around her, she would feel more confident and independent. By keeping her lonely, they made her easier to control. For Princess Diana, this was heartbreaking. She deeply valued her relationships and often said she felt alone even in a room full of people. Losing friends not only made her feel more isolated, but also added to her sense that the royal family didn't care about her happiness. Number 10. Making rules to limit Princess Diana's freedom. After Princess Diana separated from King Charles, she hoped she could live a freer, happier life. Instead, the royal family created new rules that still kept her under their control. They monitored where she traveled, limited her public appearances, and often told her what she could and couldn't do. Even her work with charities was sometimes restricted because the palace didn't want her to do anything that might outshine them. These rules were frustrating for Princess Diana because they made her feel like she couldn't live her life on her own terms. She wanted to be independent and make decisions for herself, but every step was watched and managed. Even though she wasn't officially a senior royal anymore, it felt like the family was still trying to control her every move. For Princess Diana, these restrictions were a constant reminder that she couldn't fully escape the royal family's grip. She wanted freedom, but the rules made her feel like she was still trapped in a system she no longer wanted to be part of. Number 11. Saying Princess Diana wasn't a good mom. Princess Diana adored her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, and being their mother was the most important thing in her life. She broke royal traditions by taking them to school herself, spending time with them at theme parks, and letting them experience life beyond the palace walls. She wanted them to grow up understanding real people and the world outside royalty. But some members of the royal family didn't see this as a good thing. Rumors spread that Princess Diana's emotional parenting style made her too unstable to be a good mother. These accusations hurt Princess Diana deeply because she worked so hard to give her sons the best life she could. She wanted to protect them from the pressures of royal life, not add to them. What made it worse was the palace's silence. They never publicly defended Princess Diana, letting the negative stories grow. For Princess Diana, this was devastating. She wanted nothing more than to be a good mother, and seeing her love and dedication questioned in public was heartbreaking. Number 12. Keeping Princess Diana dependent on royal money. After Princess Diana and King Charles divorced, Princess Diana wanted to be financially independent. She dreamt of a life where she didn't have to rely on the royal family for anything. But the financial settlement she received after the divorce didn't give her complete freedom. The royal family still had control over many of her resources, making it hard for her to be fully independent. Whenever Princess Diana wanted to travel, start a new project, or work on a cause close to her heart, she often needed the palace's approval. This made her feel like she was still under their control, even though she was no longer officially part of the family. For Princess Diana, this financial dependence was a constant frustration. She wanted to make her own choices and live life on her terms, but the palace's grip on her money kept pulling her back. It was a reminder that no matter how much she tried to break free, the royal family still had power over her. Number 13. Ignoring Princess Diana when she needed help. Princess Diana was very open about her mental health struggles, hoping to encourage others to seek help. She talked about her battles with bulimia and depression, showing courage at a time when these topics were rarely discussed. But when she asked the royal family for help, they dismissed her. They acted like her problems weren't important, or worse, like they were embarrassing. Instead of offering her support, the palace ignored her struggles. They didn't see her mental health challenges as something to address or fix. For Princess Diana, this was devastating. She was not only dealing with her personal pain, but also facing it in an environment where no one seemed to care. This lack of support made her feel completely alone. She wanted help from the people she thought would stand by her, but they let her down. Their indifference added to her suffering and made her feel like the royal family cared more about their public image than about her well-being. Number 14. Turning people against Princess Diana. Princess Diana had a special way of connecting with people, and many admired her for it. But the royal family didn't like how popular she was, so they worked behind the scenes to isolate her. Friends and advisors who supported Princess Diana were quietly pushed away or encouraged to distance themselves from her. This wasn't an accident. The royal family knew that if Princess Diana felt alone, it would be easier to control her. They created a situation where she couldn't fully trust the people around her. Friends who might have offered her emotional support were cut off, leaving her with fewer people to turn to. For Princess Diana, this betrayal hurt deeply. She valued her relationships and relied on them to navigate the challenges of royal life. Losing her allies made her feel more vulnerable and confirmed her fears that she couldn't trust anyone in the palace. The deliberate effort to turn people against her was one of the many ways the royal family tried to keep her isolated. Number 15. Making it harder for Princess Diana to see her kids. Princess Diana's sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, were the center of her world. She loved spending time with them, taking them to school, and giving them a taste of life outside the palace. But after her separation from King Charles, it became harder for her to spend as much time with them as she wanted. The royal family controlled the boys' schedules, often making decisions without consulting Princess Diana. She felt left out when it came to important choices about their upbringing, and this hurt her deeply. Princess Diana wanted to be present for her sons, but the palace's interference made it feel like she was always fighting to stay close to them. For Princess Diana, this wasn't just frustrating, it was heartbreaking. Her role as a mother was the most important part of her life, and she hated feeling like this was being taken away from her. The royal family's control over her time with her sons was another way they kept her feeling powerless and sidelined. Number 16. Advisors who tried to control Princess Diana. Princess Diana's life was surrounded by advisors, but not all of them were truly on her side. Many of these advisors were loyal to the royal family rather than to Princess Diana herself. Instead of helping her find her voice or supporting her goals, they often guided her in ways that benefited the institution more than her. They discouraged her from speaking out during scandals, pressured her to stay silent, and steered her away from projects that might make her too independent. For Princess Diana, this was incredibly frustrating. She wanted to trust the people around her, but it often felt like they were working against her. Even when she tried to take charge of her own life, the advisor seemed determined to keep her in line with the royal family's expectations. This constant manipulation made Princess Diana feel like she was being controlled at every turn. It wasn't just about advice. It was about making sure she stayed within the boundaries the palace had set. This lack of genuine support left her feeling even more isolated and powerless. Number 17. Claiming credit for Princess Diana's work. Princess Diana's charity work became one of her most defining achievements. From raising awareness about AIDS to supporting victims of landmines, her efforts made a real difference. She wasn't afraid to take on difficult or controversial causes, and people admired her for it. But instead of celebrating her work, the royal family often tried to take credit for it. They would publicly align themselves with her causes, sometimes stepping in to overshadow her contributions. This wasn't just frustrating for Princess Diana, it was deeply disheartening. She wasn't doing the work for recognition. She genuinely cared about the people she was helping. But seeing her efforts co-opted by the royal family made her feel like even her legacy wasn't fully her own. Despite these challenges, Princess Diana continued her humanitarian efforts with passion and determination. She believed in the importance of making a difference, no matter what obstacles she faced. Her commitment to helping others shone through, even when the royal family tried to control the narrative around her work. Number 18. Taking away her royal title. One of the most painful moments for Princess Diana after her divorce was losing her title of Her Royal Highness. While she was still the Princess of Wales, losing the HRH title was a clear message from the royal family. She was no longer truly one of them. This decision wasn't just a formal matter. It was deeply personal for Princess Diana. The title symbolized her place in the royal family and the respect that came with it. Losing it felt like a public rejection, a way for the palace to distance themselves from her. For Princess Diana, it was a reminder of how far the family was willing to go to show the world she was no longer part of their inner circle. The loss of her title also had practical consequences. Without it, Princess Diana had less protection and support in navigating her new life. It was a bitter blow for someone who'd given so much to the royal family and the public. For Princess Diana, losing HRH was about more than just a title. It was about losing a piece of her identity. Number 19. Changing the story after Princess Diana's death. When Princess Diana tragically died in 1997, the world was heartbroken. People around the globe mourned her loss and celebrated her incredible legacy. However, the royal family quickly shifted the narrative surrounding her life and their relationship with her. They emphasized their grief and their connection to her, trying to paint a picture of unity and closeness. This shift in the story felt wrong to many of Princess Diana's supporters. It erased much of the pain and isolation she'd endured during her life. The royal family's sudden embrace of Princess Diana after her death seemed like an attempt to protect their image, rather than truly honor her. For years, Princess Diana had struggled to find her place within the royal institution. And now that she was gone, the family was rewriting history to suit their needs. Even in death, Princess Diana's story was being controlled and manipulated. For those who had admired her strength and vulnerability, this rewriting of her life felt like a betrayal of the truth. Princess Diana deserved to be remembered for who she truly was, not as a version crafted to protect the monarchy. Now we'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think these actions against Princess Diana were calculated moves by the royal family? Or were they a symptom of a system that struggled to adapt to her modern, compassionate approach? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video engaging, like and share it. It helps us reach more viewers who are just as passionate about these videos as you are. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you'll never miss our future videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!